When you work in an office long enough, you learn that not every battle is fought in meeting rooms or over deadlines. Some are fought in whispers, in forwarded emails, in the quiet digital corners where reputations can be destroyed with a single click. My name is Alina Voss, and I learned that lesson the hard way. The day it happened started like any other Monday. Stale coffee, unread notifications, and that faint hum of fluorescent lights that made everyone look a little more tired than they really were. I worked as a project analyst at a marketing firm called Brightfield & Co., a mid-sized agency where everyone pretended to be collaborative but secretly competed for the same promotions. My team handled high-profile clients, so the tension was always simmering just beneath the surface. But I didn't mind the pressure. I thrived in structure, numbers, logic, proof. I believed that in a professional world, effort and skill spoke louder than politics. That belief would crumble within weeks. It all began with Tara Lund, a coworker who joined our team 6 months earlier. Tara was the kind of person who could make mediocrity look magnetic, the kind who didn't necessarily do great work, but always made sure people saw her doing it. She laughed a little too loudly in meetings, used the word collaborative like it was a personal brand, and had a way of charming managers without ever delivering much. Still, I didn't think much of her, not until she started getting credit for work she hadn't done. At first, it was small things. She'd subtly reword my ideas doing presentations and act like she'd thought of them first. Then she began volunteering to polish reports I'd completed, which somehow always resulted in her name being listed as co-author. It irritated me, but I didn't want to seem petty. I kept my head down and focused on the data, convinced that truth would show itself eventually. But truth is quieter than gossip, and gossip, especially in offices, has a microphone. One morning, I walked into the office to find the air unusually heavy. Conversations stopped when I passed by. People avoided eye contact. I sat at my desk and noticed an unread email marked urgent. It was from HR. Subject: regarding inappropriate communication sent from your account. My stomach dropped. I opened it, scanning the message with disbelief. According to HR, I had sent an email to the entire department the previous night, a rant calling out the team's incompetence, mocking leadership, and accusing colleagues of being deadweight. My heart hammered as I opened my sent folder. Nothing. No such email. I checked drafts, outbox, nothing. But when I searched my name in the company-wide inbox, there it was. A scathing, humiliating email, signed with my signature, sent from my address. The timestamps matched the night before, 11:42 p.m. I hadn't even been online then. I was at dinner with my friend Hannah, celebrating her birthday. I sat frozen, staring at the screen as coworkers walked by, whispering. My manager, Gavin, came over, his expression a mix of disappointment and discomfort. "Elena, can we talk in my office?" The HR representative, Lydia, was already waiting there when I entered. She looked sympathetic but firm. "Elena, we received several complaints about the email. It's been deleted from company servers, but copies were archived. We need to discuss what happened." "I didn't send that email," I said immediately. "Someone used my account." "Your credentials weren't compromised," Lydia replied gently. "IT checked. The email originated from your device." "That's impossible," I said, voice shaking. "My laptop was locked in my drawer all night. I wasn't even home." "Do you share your password with anyone?" Gavin asked. "Of course not." He sighed, exchanging a glance with Lydia. "Alina, this isn't like you, but you understand how serious this is." "I swear, I didn't send it," I repeated, my throat tightening. They said they'd review the situation, but sent me home early to let things cool down. When I walked through the open office, I could feel everyone's eyes on me. Some looked pitying, others smug. Tara was standing by the printer, talking to someone, pretending not to see me. But I noticed the faint smirk tugging at her lips. That's when I knew. She'd done it. She was the only one who ever used my desk. She'd borrowed my laptop a few times just to print something real quick. I remembered one instance, a week earlier, when she'd logged in using my workstation after claiming hers was updating. I hadn't thought twice. I should have. That night, after pacing my apartment for hours, I decided to dig. I logged into my work account remotely and searched through every file, every log, every trace I could access. That's when I noticed something strange. In the shared server directory, there was a hidden folder, a personal draft archive. It wasn't mine. It was Tara's. Out of curiosity, or desperation, I clicked. And there it was, a document titled draft_email v2. I opened it, and my heart stopped. It was the email, the exact same one that had been sent under my name, line for line, word for word. Except this one hadn't been sent. It was still saved as a draft in her folder, time-stamped 2 days before the email went out. She must have composed it there, copied it, then sent it from my account after logging in that night. But she'd forgotten to delete the draft. My hands shook as I took screenshots, saving everything to a USB drive. Then I printed the draft, every page, with metadata visible, and placed it in an envelope. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I walked into HR with the envelope in hand. "I think I found something you'll want to see," I said, laying the printed draft on the table. Lydia leaned in, scanning the first page. Her eyes widened. "Where did you get this?" "From the shared server," I said. "It's Tara's draft folder. Check the file properties. It's authored under her credentials." Gavin joined us, flipping through the pages. The silence stretched. Then he exhaled slowly, his expression shifting from skepticism to grim realization. "We'll need to verify this with IT, but if this checks out—" "It will," I said, quietly. By afternoon, IT confirmed it. The file originated from Tara's profile, not mine. She'd logged into my workstation using my credentials, likely while I was in a meeting, and scheduled the email to send later that night. She had planned everything perfectly, except for one fatal oversight. She forgot to delete the original draft. HR called her in later that day. From my desk, I couldn't hear what was said, but the muffled voices carried enough tension to make half the office fall silent. After 20 minutes, the door opened. Tara stormed out, her face pale, eyes wet, but burning with fury. She shot me a look so venomous it almost made me flinch. Almost. Then she grabbed her bag and walked straight to the elevator. She never came back. HR later issued an internal statement, calling it a misunderstanding caused by unauthorized access. They didn't name her, but everyone knew. People who'd been whispering about me 2 days earlier now looked at me with awkward smiles and apologies. But I didn't feel vindicated. I felt hollow. Because even after clearing my name, something inside me had changed. The illusion that workplaces were built on merit and professionalism, gone. The realization that someone could hate you enough to ruin you, that stuck. A week later, Lydia called me into her office again. "Elena, I just wanted to let you know the situation's been formally closed. You're in the clear. And I wanted to thank you for handling it professionally." I nodded, but my voice was distant. "I just want to move forward." She hesitated, then asked, "What are you going to do?" I looked out the window, watching the reflection of my tired face in the glass. "Keep receipts," I said. "Always keep receipts." For months afterward, the office returned to its usual rhythm. Tara's desk remained empty until they quietly replaced her with someone new. But the story never fully died. It lingered in the undercurrent of conversations, in the careful glances people exchanged before hitting send on any email. I became the unofficial cautionary tale, the woman who got framed and survived it. But what no one knew was that Tara hadn't acted alone. 2 weeks after her departure, I found an internal memo on the printer, a note from Caleb, one of the senior associates. It was a draft addressed to Tara. "You're sure she won't trace it back to you? If this works, there's room for both of us on the new client account." My chest tightened. Caleb. He'd been mentoring Tara, defending her, even after she was caught? It made sense now. She wasn't just jealous. She was helping him sabotage me to open a spot on the high-profile Ridgeway account. Together, they'd planned the email, but when things went south, he'd let her take the fall. I stared at the note for a long time before sliding it into my drawer. I didn't show HR. Not yet. I waited. Over the next few weeks, Caleb started making small mistakes. Emails with missing attachments, data reports with discrepancies, errors I quietly documented. Then one day, during a client presentation, he tried to pass off one of my analyses as his own. He stumbled through it, clearly not understanding the numbers. The client raised an eyebrow. "I think Elena should explain this section," Gavin said, glancing my way. So I did, calmly, clearly, confidently. And as I spoke, I saw Caleb shrinking beside me, exposed under the weight of his own deceit. After the meeting, Gavin called me into his office again. "You know," he said, smiling faintly, "you've handled a lot of chaos this year, but you've come out sharper." "I've had practice," I replied. "Experience builds instincts." What I didn't tell him was that I'd sent an anonymous tip to HR later that day, with the memo attached. A month later, Caleb resigned for personal reasons. No one asked questions. I didn't celebrate. I just sat at my desk, closed my inbox, and took a deep breath. The office hummed around me, the same way it always had. Polite, professional, and quietly predatory. But I wasn't the same. I'd seen behind the curtain. I knew now that people didn't always attack you to win. Sometimes they just couldn't stand watching you hold your own. Sometimes jealousy wasn't about ambition, it was about control. A few weeks later, as I was leaving for the day, Lydia caught me by the elevator. "I heard you've been offered the Ridgeway account," she said. "Congratulations." "Thank you," I said. She hesitated. "You know, not many people would have stayed after what happened." I smiled faintly. I stayed because I wasn't done yet. When the elevator doors closed, I caught my reflection in the mirrored panel, tired but sharper, steadier. The kind of person who'd learned that survival in the workplace isn't about trust, it's about evidence. And sometimes, justice doesn't need to be loud, it just needs to be documented.
You've just stepped into her revenge side, where every wound finds its justice, and every silence ends with truth. If her story struck a chord, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive. Another secret waits in the next video. See how her revenge begins.